He's a very charismatic, positive individual who often makes wonderful presentation, and I hope you enjoy him. He is a CMO of MammothDB. He is also a television and radio host, the writer of 3 books, entrepreneur, and many, many other things. So let's give the floor to Boyan Benev.
Good morning, everybody. Ooh, the microphone works. I didn't even need to shout. It was a very scary, wonderful dance to begin the day. I enjoyed that. I want to thank the organizers for having me here today. I have the pleasure to talk about a fantastic competition that I had the pleasure of being in the jury of. It's called The Venture by Shivas, and it ties in very nicely into the theme of social entrepreneurship, which I guess is a good way to start to ease into the business day. So, The Venture is the first year of the competition. It's a pilot. It's a global competition to find innovative companies and innovative startups in the social entrepreneurship field, which of course brings up the question of what is social entrepreneurship. We'll answer that maybe in a little bit. It was a global competition, but because it was a pilot year, there was only a few countries which took part. Bulgaria was lucky enough to be among the 16 countries that took part. Please don't count them because they might not be 16. But as you can see, there was a mix of very big countries, and we were probably one of the smallest countries that took part. Interestingly, we had the 3rd or 4th largest number of applications to take part in the venture this year. So after the US and I think it was the UK, we had the largest number of people. We had 130 applicants in the pilot year of the venture, which is very interesting. It shows, I guess, that we have a lot of potential. So, what is the venture? The idea was to look around the world and see whether there are entrepreneurs doing interesting things in the social sphere. So, not just businesses out to make a profit for themselves or their founders or their employees, not NGOs or charities looking to just make the world better based on donations, but businesses which are sustainable because they make a profit, but at the same time make a big social impact. I was part of the jury. We had a very fun jury. I don't know where we're pointing this. Let's show the jury. The jury was a great mix of people between business and the arts, as well as media. So we had myself, there was Pavel Zakiev, maybe some of you know him from the investment fund Benev, Manol Bekov, who's an alumni of the American University, the owner of Jeanette 45, the publishing company, Gary Prokopiev of Economy Media, and a bunch of other people. And Elisa Panayotova from the Soviet Tech Party. Our job was to filter through these 130 applications and find out which ones should go into the finals. We were surprised that there were so many applicants. The range was very big. They ranged from, unsurprisingly, website app solutions which had some kind of social benefit, social function, to perhaps our favorite, which was a plan to build a rabbit farm to use the rabbits for meat and then export, because apparently around Stara Zagora there's an excess of rabbits. Had a lot of very interesting ideas. We took these ideas from a very early stage. The agency Reforma had an idea to create the $1 million desk, which was in Beta House in Sofia. Maybe some of you know about Beta House in Sofia, the first co-working space in Bulgaria. Yes? No? Yes. Good. Some form of noise. We had open discussions and talks with the entrepreneurs about how to enhance the social impact of their business before they applied. Once they applied, we had a very long discussion. It was actually probably the most thorough deliberation as a jury that I've ever taken part in. We met 4 times as a jury, whistling down from 130 to first of all 15, 20 or so, and then the final 10 that we chose. This is us. it was interesting because it gave some interesting conclusions to myself. I've thought about entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, but the competition brought up some curious points. One of them was that, especially with a lot of the talks that we get in conferences like this, we kind of imagine that innovation has to be limited to technology. That social impact also has the greatest potential to be done via the appropriate use of technology. Something cool that the competition showed is that innovation can happen in any sphere. One of our finalists was the Bread Houses Network. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Bread Houses Network. Somebody make some form of noise if you have. Okay, no. Okay, some form of noise, good. It's cool because they make a social franchise around the idea of baking bread. You wouldn't imagine that you could think of innovation as coming from the bread furnace, but they found a way to actually impact people's lives quite significantly through the process of making bread. They hire people from disadvantaged backgrounds or unemployed people, and they give them work in the bread oven. And in exchange, they sell very high quality bread to the community in Sofia and Gabrovo and one other city that I've forgotten right now. We had four finalists, which I guess the diversity of those finalists shows a nice snapshot of what the competition looked like. One of them was the bread houses. The other was a Bulgarian company called Smallfoot. Anybody heard of Smallfoot? Oh, good. Are you just saying that? So you said it? Good. Smallfoot make a very innovative inflatable snowshoe. It would be great if I had a photo of it because it looks really great. But they sell to the emergency services like the mountain rescue organizations. The idea being that in inaccessible places and difficult to reach places, it's quite hard to carry big metal heavy snowshoes, and it's difficult to get around in 2 meters of snow without snowshoes. So they've invented an inflatable snowshoe, and they're actually saving people's lives around the world with a Bulgarian invention which is patented and actually very innovative, and at the same time has a significant social aspect. The other finalists were drone amps. Again, maybe some of you have heard of them. They're trying to create, or they're in the process of creating, a big 18-meter wingspan unmanned drone. I guess 18 meters is maybe around the width of this stage, to carry up to 200 kilos of payload in emerging markets like Africa, especially where infrastructure is non-existent. They want to create drone-first infrastructure delivering medicine and food. Food, I guess, medicine and food and other items which are very difficult to ship across inaccessible places in emerging markets. Finally, there was the winner. Oh, this way? Okay, good. Okay, good. The winner of the competition. Actually, I don't know which direction I'm going in. Very good. It builds a little bit more suspense. Here we go. Yes? No? Back to those guys? Good. I'll stay there. Okay, good. These guys won. They're called Our Thesis, and they do something really impressive and something that you wouldn't really consider at the first point of being that significant, because I guess very few of us are touched by this directly, but when you think about it, it's very impressive. They create artistic covers for people with leg amputations. They have a very interesting idea that people with leg amputations or with any form of amputations are psychologically affected by this, understandably, but they're not afraid or ashamed of the fact that they've had an amputation. They're more concerned about the way that the artificial leg looks, and in that way it hinders their ability to show themselves in public. They worry about how people will perceive themselves, not because they have an amputation, but because of the way the horrible piece of plastic that they have to wear looks. And they now have 30 or 40 people who are registered clients for their business, and they're actually transforming their lives by giving them the confidence to go out and live the life that they deserve to live. Interestingly, the social aspect of this is that when the guys started out, especially in the competition, they had a very high price point. Each one of these is 3D printed, and it costs around €1,000 to create. And it's not, obviously it's great, it's really nice and pretty, but it's not affordable to everyone. What they've managed to do in the process of taking part in the venture is reduce that price and make it virtually accessible to everybody, not just in the developed world, but also in developing countries too, where they can work with manufacturers to even make a more complete solution. Okay? So, what's the interesting thing about the venture in the context of these guys this year? Well, they now have a chance to win $1 million. Maybe I should have said that with a bit more pause, it's impressive. In the next couple of months, we're going to help them and mentor them as organizers and mentors here in Bulgaria to prepare them to go to San Francisco in July, where they have an opportunity to compete for the grand prize of $750,000. Before that, they have in May and June a crowdfunding campaign where they can win an additional $250,000. So interestingly, Shiva's Brothers International are standing behind this competition with a serious amount of money. The great thing is that being so few countries that are taking part, we have a great opportunity to get in at the beginning and take a not small part of this prize fund. We were looking at the other finalists that have won in other countries, and it was very encouraging to see that the Bulgarian candidates were really on a global level. I mean, I think we often put ourselves down in Bulgaria that, you know, we do some fantastic stuff here locally, but when we go out on an international stage, we can't really compete with bigger, more established companies. Really not the case. Our impression of this was that there were some fantastic ideas, some fantastic projects which were being developed now. And I guess my message to you here is to keep an eye out for this competition next year, because there's a very good chance that Bulgaria takes part in it again next year. And having taken part in the first year, we as a jury, the organisers as organisers, and you as the potential audience for this have a great opportunity to take part in something where we already have experience. Which is why maybe it's good if I give you a few thoughts on the whole topic of social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship isn't about having a company which also has a charity function. So it's not about saying we make dynamite, but for 5% of our profits we're going to donate it to charities which fight, you know, people affected by explosions. Giving the example of Alfred Nobel there. It's not about having an NGO. You know, you still have to have a sustainable business. It needs to make money. One of the biggest problems with creating a purely social enterprise with no real business drive is that in the long run, motives change. People still need to survive. You need to eat. You need to develop. And the ideals and the reasons why you created that enterprise and that project to begin with water away and the impact goes. So, we see the opportunity to make impactful social businesses. I hope Delta will continue this topic very shortly and give you some specific examples. But I guess my message to you is look out for this competition, because out of the many things that I've been part of as a jury or taken part in the competitions, it's one of the projects which can give a huge boost to your startup, as long as your startup has a social aspect to it. And that social aspect can be built into any business. And personally, I find that it's incredibly rewarding to have that, because you often ask yourself, you know, why are you putting in so much effort, so much of your time into a company? And if you're impacting a broader range of people outside of your business than just your employees and your partners, then it's much easier to answer that question. So, departing words, great competition, great finalists. Bulgaria will be in the competition again next year, hopefully. I want you guys to take part in it, but I suggest that you start thinking about it from now, because we found that a lot of the companies that took part this year had interesting projects, but you couldn't really call them social businesses. And I hope Delta will pick up from here and maybe define what I mean Oh, what I did? Yes. So, thank you very much. That was it.